what your role is here.
Yes. So Awake Ministries is a faith-based residential recovery program. It is 4 months in length. We have a men's house and we have a women's house. People are in full-time recovery while they're here, so they're not working. And that's basically who we are. We also, I'm not going to talk about this a lot because I know that you're here more for the recovery aspect, but we have the largest food bank in the region right down the road. And my role is I'm the executive director. And what that means is that the programming largely falls on me as far as the development, the management of it, the recruiting of it, and then I'm over the leadership here, which we have a men's director for the men's house, a women's director, so they're directly under me, as well as some other key staff members. So just, overseeing the programming and the facilitation of the recovery program day to day is my main job.
Okay. How many people do you serve at one time in this program?
So we have the men's house. We have a full house at 10 men, and then the women's house is a little bit smaller. So their full program is 6. So 16 people in full-time recovery at any time. And then we will do some outpatient if we feel like the person is truly committed to the process and not just wanting someone to sign off on their papers. We don't do that very often because we don't find that it is very fruitful. But every once in a while we'll find a person that we feel like could really benefit and would adhere to the program, and we will take outpatient every once in a while.
What are the age ranges that you serve at this program?
Yeah, so you have to be 18 to enter the program. So we have had a few 18-year-olds before. I will say it's very difficult for someone that young to be disciplined enough if they're, already in the throes of, having some sort of substance use issue. It's difficult. It's difficult for young people, but we have had a few people go through the program that are 18, 19 years old. And then we've had people all the way up to the age of, say, mid-60s. So, we don't really, base who we'll admit on age, but, we do see a variety. I would say if I had to guess the average age, late 20s to mid 40s.
You did say that the program is 4 months long. So is that for everybody? It's 4 months, or does other people stay longer in the program?
So it's a 4-month minimum, which is considered long-term recovery. Anything over 3 months is considered long-term. So it's a 4-month, and like I said, it's the minimum requirement because we use the Celebrate Recovery curriculum. That's the only curriculum that we use. And the first 30 days is what we call an acclimation period, where people are detoxing, getting used to our structure, our, just the ins and outs of how the program works itself, getting their head cleared, settling in. And then after the first 30 days, then they start their step work. And that step work takes 3 months. So that's why it's a 4-month minimum. But we have had people that have stayed longer, either because the court required it for them to fulfill, a sentence or probation or parole requirement or something like that, or just because they really were challenged with, doing the work. Sometimes it takes people longer to process their life, and so we try to show grace in that area, and people have stayed longer if they've needed to.
Is there different levels in the program? So they are in this program for a while. When did they go to the paddock? When is that process?
Okay. So the first 30 days is acclimation. And then after that time, they enter into the next level, which is beginning step work, which is also entering into an internship, which we own the Paddock Coffee Shop. And so that they're getting experience in food and hospitality. So that's also after I'm just going to put these somewhere else. So that's also after the first 30 days. After the first 30 days, they get one phone call a week. They get a family visit on Sunday afternoons. So those are the 2 privileges that they gain after 30 days. And then there really aren't any other levels beyond that, but we are working on right now developing a phase 2 of recovery that a person would enter into after completing the 4-month program.
So when they come here, do they, I guess, turn in their cell phones to you guys?
Mm-hmm.
They don't have like their cell phones or any kind of connection out to the world that they came from?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Does this recovery program take medical insurance?
It does not. So that's one of the ways I feel like Awake is different and unique, is that we're completely donor funded. We've gone back and forth with the idea of accepting insurance before, because when you're a nonprofit and you're having to fundraise your money and you need money, you're constantly thinking of and seeing people, other like larger recovery centers that bill insurance, and they're doing really well and have a lot of staff, and and we've visited that conversation a few times. But what happens is when an agency accepts insurance for recovery or other things, I'm sure, you have to go through the state accreditation program. And that puts stipulations on you, expectations, such as being a MAT center. So if we were to take insurance and be state accredited, we would also be required to be medically staffed and to basically administer MAT treatment, medical assisted treatment like Suboxone, methadone, Vivitrol, all the things. We are a holistic program. So we have chosen, we feel like our mission, it isn't for everyone, and it's no judgment against people that do it differently. But for us, being faith-based, being holistic, we believe that God, that we are new creations in the Lord, and that He can give us the power to overcome our addictions. And so that's just who we are and the way that we want to do it. And so it's worked for us. It's not without its challenges, because we do have to fundraise for everything that we do here, for the houses, for the staff, for the vehicles and the transportation. I mean, it is all because we have support from our community. So we don't take that for granted, but it is challenging for sure.
Does Awake work with any local agencies in the county or in the state?
So local agencies that we work with, what would you name like a local agency, like health department?
Like the health department, okay, or the detention center?
Okay. Oh yeah. So yes, of course we work with the detention center, because most of the people that come into our program are here as an alternative sentence to jail. So each county has what's called an ASW, alternative sentence worker, and their job is to identify people that are in jail on a drug or alcohol related charge, and to decide, is this person a good candidate for recovery? Because most jails, I'm pretty familiar with the one here in Shelby County and a few others, but they're not really providing, or not even mandating that people get help while they're in jail. So it's difficult because being incarcerated is punishment, but it's not rehabilitation. It's very different. So we then are forming relationships with these alternative sentence workers in Shelby and surrounding counties. There are a few of them that know us well, know the work we do, and love it, and they feed us people regularly. And so that's good. So once that person is here then in the program, they are satisfying their sentence, which means they have to stay and finish it. And if they don't, then they have to report back to jail, or if they just up and leave, then there's a warrant out for their arrest. So that is a good motivator to keep people in the program. But they do know before they come here that we are a faith-based program. It's not anything that we're like, surprise, here's your Bible. People know what they're entering into, and we just ask. We're not asking them to sign a faith statement or anything like that. They just have to be open, knowing that that is the spiritual aspect of what we do is the biggest part of our program. So that's an agency that we work with closely. Probation and parole, of course. CPS, we work with them. Many of the women and a few men, but mostly women that come through are in our program to satisfy a requirement for their CPS case. So we do see a lot with them as well. Those are the main agencies that we work with. Sometimes drug court, every once in a while, we will work with them, but those are the main ones.
Do you work with the health department at all?
Not really. In the past, the health department has wanted to be a part of what we do, but, being as how they are, the health department, a lot of that is, they're wanting to, supply us with Narcan. Like that's the biggest thing that they want to do. They want to supply us with Narcan. They want to, it's different. It's more of along the lines of the state accredited mentality. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that does not apply to what we do here. Mm-hmm. So not that we're not open to partnership, but it has to make sense. It has to go along with our mission and vision and how we run our program. Do
the participants, we already talked about this, some of them are court appointed, so mm-hmm. they do have to come here, and some of them do come freely.
Right.
Okay.
They can come freely also.
So this kind of goes back to people that are coming from jail, or do they have more restrictions on them than somebody that comes in freely or is not a court appointed? I guess do they have less freedoms than someone that is just off the streets, or is the rules apply to everybody? No,
same rules apply to everyone. I mean, when they're here, they, abide by our standards, our rules. They're no longer, I'd say they probably have more appointments for accountability. Like, the people that are here through probation and parole, they still have to go check in with their probation officer. Whereas, the people that voluntary come in do not, but they are all treated the same. Some of them might have a few different requirements as far as appointments, but that's it.
Do you guys do random drug testing?
Yes.
Or is it every day you do drug testing?
It's not every day.
So it's just randomly?
Random.
If mm-hmm. someone does something such as gets hurt or something out of line, would they randomly or automatically get a drug test?
We sometimes will do a drug test on suspicion here as well. So sometimes we might do that, just kind of depending on the situation.
Do you guys carry Narcan here?
We do have Narcan on site, yes.
Those weren't in my questions. I just randomly asked them.
Okay. Yep.
How does the center assess the individual needs of clients and develop a personalized treatment plan?
Okay. So this process starts with the assessment. People are first assessed before they come in to see if they would be a good candidate for our program. So some of the things that might disqualify someone from being in the program, both of the houses are located right next to a school. So if anyone has been charged with a sex offense, if they're on the sex offender registry, they would not qualify for our program. Again, I just spoke about us being a holistic program. We are not medically staffed. So if anyone is claiming that they need, depression medication, pain medication, antipsychotic, something for, anxiety, if it's a controlled substance and they have to have it, then we advise that they go elsewhere where there's medical staff that can oversee that sort of thing. But we do not turn away people that, say they have blood pressure issue or, diabetes or whatever the case might be, and they need medication for that. Fine. That's totally okay. So we also are looking for, when we begin to assess people, we are looking for a certain level of humility. and a certain level of brokenness. Okay, we don't like to see that. Like we don't like to see people broken, but it really sets off red flags for us if we do an assessment with people and they're just joking around, they're laughing, they're just making light of the situation, or they're very flippant, about the predicament that they're in. We can normally tell the people that do the best in our program are ready for change. They're at the end of their rope. They have no other options. They are desperate. And those are the people that just have great success in our program, that really are ready for change. And so it really starts there. We begin to assess them for the different types of things that they've experienced in their background. Most of the people that come through this program have some sort of sexual abuse in their past. So we see, there's a really big connection there. So then we begin to see, based off of, if we do the intake then and we say they'd be a good candidate, we start looking at those different things that they have filled out as part of their assessment and part of their intake. And then we begin to design a recovery program around what those needs are. The people with the most trauma, we use the ACE test are you familiar with that? Yeah. We use the ACE test to kind of score where they are on the trauma scale. The ones that have, the higher score, of course, are going to need a more intense program. And so we do have some people outside of Awake even that we would use in those cases. There's an inner healing center in Middletown that we use for people with the highest level of trauma. Also with the highest level of trauma, we have our clinician here, Bobby. She's trauma-informed care and specializes in trauma, so they would get more one-on-ones with her, and also just even more one-on-ones with the women's director or with myself. Just that processing and prayer and that sort of thing. But above and beyond, like the trauma care, everyone is basically receiving the same kind of program, and that includes, like I said, the spiritual component, which looks like discipleship. It looks like working the steps with a mentor, and we do try to match up mentors, based on personalities, based on need, and that sort of thing. And then everyone attends an adult education component as well. So we're trying to get them job ready, career ready as best we can in the 4 months. Everybody does community service, and that's really helpful with just, turning the focus from self to others, which, addiction just causes people to be like that. It's a very self-focused and inward-focused type of life, and so community service is a big deal to people. It's not a punishment, and we really instill that in them. It's giving to others, it's loving others, and then the last part that we've talked about is the enterprise, which is the internship at the Paddock. So those are the different components of our program that we use, and of course, as I mentioned, behavioral health is part of that as well.
We did touch a little bit on this one as well. It says, how does the center support clients in their recovery journey? We already talked about that. Mm-hmm. And then after their stay, so after they leave here, do you guys continue to support them in their recovery and staying clean? And what other programs do you guys offer? Any other programs for them after they leave?
Mm-hmm. We have known for a little while that, the aftercare of the program has been lacking historically. And that's something that we want to do better at. It's really difficult for people to go from 4 months of being completely surrounded, supported, encouraged, just having everything that they need in this. We do try to create a family culture here. And a lot of people have never experienced healthy family or love, like that before. So it's a huge jump for them to go from a full-time recovery setting back into the real world, and so it can be a shock, to them. There's a lot of fear of failure. There's a lot of just unknown. Is this going to stick? Am I going to be able to do this on my own, sort of thing. So what we're currently doing is that when they're on their last book, we do what's called an exit strategy with them, where we begin to process through with them, what are your next steps? Where are you going to work? Where are you going to go? Do you have transportation? Do you need ongoing assistance, with the courts? Do you need, what's your family dynamic? Is there still some, reconciliation that needs to happen? Just all of these things, thinking about, okay, what's your support team going to be? All of these things, start thinking about them, as you transition out. So we will give them, after they graduate, 30 days in the house to work. They have to be working. And we do help them find jobs if they need help. So they get to work for a month and live in the house, like not paying anything. Like we just call that, their jumping off point, their grace period. So as long as that's not preventing new people from coming in, then we will allow them to stay beyond that. But, we're not a sober living home. We're not a halfway house. We are full-time recovery center. So we have to be mindful of, making sure that people are getting pushed through, so that we can continue to take new people. So anyway, and that's the whole reason that we want to develop the phase 2 of recovery, so that we can have a more prolonged transitional phase where people are moving into, assimilating back into more normal life, but while still having support. So other things that we do as they're leaving is a lot of them stay connected with Bobby, who is our social worker. A lot of them stay connected with her. We encourage them to stay connected to us, to continue to come to our recovery meetings for the community and stuff like that. And there's just kind of this mentality a little bit. It sticks with some and it doesn't with others. Kind of just like, okay, been there, done that. And to a degree, I get that. Like, they've already done this part, they've lived this part, and they need something new, and they need something more above and beyond what they've already received. And so, again, that's why we are really pushing and planning for this phase 2. I really feel like it's going to benefit them well.
What will your phase 2 entail?
So that will consist of them working part-time and staying in recovery programming part-time.
So you have like more residential housing for them?
So that's our first step was hiring a fundraiser to fundraise money for this other phase of recovery and just for Awake in general. Then now the step that we are currently on, which might be our biggest challenge, is the housing, because I'm sure you're familiar with working here and living here, that housing is in shortage, and affordable housing even more so in Shelbyville. We're hoping to get a work site partner because, we don't want, a lot of them gravitate toward like manufacturing work and industry. And, they have lots of shifts and things like that. And you got everybody on all these different shifts, like it's going to be like herding cats. So we're really hoping and praying for a partner where everyone that's in the program will be working on the same shift at the same site. We'll have a relationship with them, partnership with them. They'll all get their 4 hours in a day, or however that's going to work out. And then everyone will be also coming to programming at the same time. Like that would be super ideal. So that's kind of what we're looking at right now.
What are the center policies and practices regarding confidentiality and privacy of the clients?
Mm-hmm. So we are bound by HIPAA, just like every other place that would be providing a social service. We do have we actually have our employees sign off on a confidentiality statement. Working in recovery, one of the things that you find in the culture of recovery is a lot of talking, lots of talking, lots of gossiping, lots of, it's just one of those things. And so that's something that we are constantly not only trying to modeling confidentiality, but also always, teaching just about keeping things under wraps, people. But it is really important to the integrity of an organization, because, man, nothing starts a fire like your tongue wagging when it shouldn't be. So that's something that we take seriously, and that we have that trust, and we have that confidentiality, not only about concerning the people that we serve, but just about, the organization as a whole. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Let's see. What is the center's approach to addressing dual diagnoses such as SUD and mental health disorders?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I don't know how much of this you can put in your report. However, we know our limitations. Last year, as a matter of fact, I saw more, and I don't know, I didn't diagnose it because that's not my job, but, I don't know if it was schizophrenia or multiple personality, saw more of that than I ever have, like, my entire life combined. I mean, people talking to me in different voices, and I had a woman come in and tell me to stop looking at her third eye. Like, she was staring me down and said it in this voice that did not belong to her. And I was like, okay, I see what we're dealing with here, So as a faith-based organization, one of the things that we have to be able to discern is, and Bobby is often a part of this conversation. If we can tell, even after we've done the initial assessment, that, someone is going to really have some mental health struggles, coming into our program, we have to decide, is this something the Lord can handle? And are they at a place where they're going to receive it, or is this something beyond our scope? Because we do operate in deliverance here. But what I've found, and I know God is able 100%, that some people are so demonized when they come in that it is difficult for them to even process what's going on, and those are the people that I'm not going to sit here and try to, it's outside of our scope. Mm-hmm. It is, and it breaks my heart because I know God is able. But sometimes, people also have to have a certain level of awareness, personal awareness, but also Jesus awareness, in order for that to be truly effective at the level that I'm at. Because that's one of the things I'm always asking people before we even do deliverance is, have you made Jesus Lord? Because when you have, that deliverance stuff comes a whole lot easier. But we're also a community organization. There has to be a lot of integrity here in the operation, the faith operations, mm-hmm. and stuff, and people deserve that, and they deserve, all the dignity and all the, level of care, that they deserve. And so we want to offer that, and we want to offer what we can do in excellence and nothing more. Because that's when people get hurt, and that's when you look stupid. So that's people trying to do things outside of your scope.
Right.
So in that case, if people come in and then we've kind of together assessed, okay, this is beyond us right now, then we will work together to get them referred out. Usually we refer a lot to Peace Hospital. We refer to them a lot. But Bobby has a few other places that she also partners with that she has referred people to as well. So, and then sometimes it's just that, okay, you just need to be on medication. You need that right now. And we will refer to a recovery center that is staffed. and they can get the medication they need. And sometimes I've also found that people, and some of my thoughts have changed quite a bit, because when I came in here, I was like guns blazing Holy Ghost, like, he can do it all. And he really can. But I'm even at the place now where I'm like, some people need to be on medication until they can get stabilized to even get their thoughts in order to receive what you're saying to them. And so there's just a lot of discernment and, just collaboration with our staff. And I'm so glad to have Bobby, because before, she has added so much from a clinical standpoint that has really helped me in making decisions and given me a lot of peace about how to offer care to people, and, knowing my limits, her knowing hers. And it's been great. It's been so good.
So I also interviewed U of L Shelbyville Hospital, because we do get a lot of patients that we have to refer to Peace Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
When you guys refer them, are you guys setting up like a video chat with them, or are you guys sending them to Peace Hospital, or is your social worker calling and talking to someone that is a referral and talking about, this is the person we have, we really think they'll benefit from,
mm-hmm.
Inpatient or
mm-hmm.
outpatient with you all? Yeah. How do you guys go about that when you talk to Peace Hospital?
So if it's someone being sent for, for inpatient, she'll call them. She usually makes that call. She'll give her assessment. And so that's usually how that goes. Yeah. And then if it's to another recovery center, it's either Amber or Chris, men's and women's director, and they call their people that do intake, and they'll talk to them. And so
does Peace Hospital come out here to get your people as well?
They will.
Because at the hospital, we have something called Starport.
Mm-hmm.
That's like a unmarked car that will come, drive up to the ambulance bay,
mm-hmm.
and they'll take the paperwork from us, and the patient has to be willing to get into the vehicle to go.
Yeah.
If they're not willing or unable, then we have to call an ambulance. But
yeah,
is that kind of the same?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What
would you say your success rates are in the program?
Well, if we're talking about graduation rate, last year we were at 55%, which is pretty darn good for recovery. I'd like to see more, of course. And most of the people that don't make it through the program, a few we might lose because they used, and you would think that would be the case with most of the people that don't make it. But honestly, we lose more people to phone use. Having a phone in the house, in the program, causes so many problems. Or the other really big one, probably the biggest, is fraternization, where the men or the women are trying to start a relationship with one another. So we treat that very harshly, swiftly, because it just, we are co-ed, absolutely we are. But again, it's once that starts, their focus is gone. The residents know it's happening. Everybody's upset. And then other people are like, oh, you're going to do it. I'm going to do it too. You've got this a whole mess. So I would say most of the people we lose is because of relationships, fraternization. The second would be phones. And just insisting on constantly having a phone, even if they've been caught with one before. And then third, I would say is use, if they, go on a family visit and come back. And, that happens as well. But so that's our graduation rate.
So do you see people, or the same people that return to the program, or do you guys let people come back that were in the program and they graduated, then they used again? Would you guys let them come back into the program?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. We love giving second chances. If someone wants to come back and they're serious, it's always really different and better for them even the second time. So we have a lot of good success with people that come back a second time. There are some times when people want to come back. It's usually because they don't have anywhere else to go. We have to, as a staff, be in unity on the person coming back. because, we do operate on a wait list sometimes, and we don't want to constantly just be taking back the same people when we have new people that have never been through the program. So we'll usually discuss the client's file and, what were the challenges, why they got dismissed, what were their wins, what were their strengths while they were here. And if it's someone that was like consistently pursuing the opposite sex, I'll pretty much tell you that they will not get a chance to come back. Or if they were extremely lazy and like just kind of showing up but not really doing the work, we probably would not accept them back. But everybody else, yeah, we like giving second chances.
So how often do you usually see the same people return?
Gosh, I don't know. That's hard to say. I don't have a metric for that, but maybe 25%.
It's not super high number.
No.
And let's see, what is the majority of social economic status group of clients you serve?
Impoverished, yeah. A lot of them, come from poverty, and a lot of them come from rural areas, and like I think I'd already mentioned, most of the people that we get are from Oldham and Henry. They come from those jails, but when I'm talking about Oldham County, a lot of the Trimble County people go into the Oldham County jail. So a lot of people from Eminence, a lot of people from Bedford and Trimble County area, which is a rural area. So you do see a lot of that. The rural, poorer areas where there seems to be less resources, but there just also seems to be less opportunities. And, people get trapped in that cycle of staying in their area, getting in trouble, getting arrested, running with the wrong crowd, out of high school, that sort of thing. And like they just never, ever left. So, we do see that. We even talk about that a lot, from a faith standpoint. I don't know if that's important to what we're saying today or not, but just understanding that just as addiction can be a generational cycle, so is poverty, and that, that they can break free from both of those. That's not God's plan for them. So yes, but those are definitely the ones. Now, not everybody. I mean, I think we're starting to see more variety in that. We had a woman come through with a law degree. People that have their bachelor's, master's, people from good homes, nice homes, middle to upper class families. But for the most part, the majority, I would say, from poverty.
Let's see. This question we already really talked about too. It says, do you work with other community organizations to assist in coordinating services as clients leave inpatient treatments, housing, case management, which we already kind of talked about that. You have Bobby, your social worker, and you do help with people getting jobs if they need that help. I guess one more thing I would like for you to talk more about would be what the paddock is, because a lot of people in this county don't know what it is, other than we've kind of talked about it in our questions, but they don't know what the paddock is and what they do.
Okay. So, not agencies, but organizations, like you were saying, we do connect with and partner with a few other agencies. One of them is JCTC. So they provide our adult education, Kentucky Career Center. They're more like resume writing and that sort of thing. And then A Loving Choice Crisis Pregnancy Center. They offer parenting classes to our people. And then I'm trying to think what else. Who else?
You guys do anything with Operation
Care? That was the next one. I could not think of it. Operation Care. They're a thrift. They have a thrift store. They're a ministry, but they have a thrift store, and they will give our clients clothing from their thrift store. So we do have a lot of, and then we serve Father's Love. So there are a lot of ministries and nonprofits around here. So we try our best to see, if there's an area where we can have crossover or resource one another or serve one another, that we do. So that's good. That's really good. But the paddock, so just to kind of try to make it as concise as possible, as a nonprofit, we're constantly writing grants for funding to get money from foundations and different grantors. And one of the things that they want to see is, how is your nonprofit organization earning income? Which is a little bit mind-blowing if you think about it. It's like, wait, we're just trying to serve people and get them sober. But they want to see how you are stewarding money, basically. Are you an organization with your hand out, at all times, or, what are you doing for yourselves as well? So we started thinking about it, and we were like, okay, what do we already have, and what can we do with it? Well, we got able-bodied people that need to be work ready. At the time, we had a kitchen down here that was not being used. And then we had the general manager at the paddock, who was a graduate of our program, and she was wanting to be more involved here. So we put those things together. We started getting their food handler permits and teaching them how to work in a commercial grade kitchen. And then we were like, okay, let's make meals. Let's deliver them at lunchtime in the downtown area. So we came up with this little side gig where we were doing that. We had no idea where it was going to go. No clue. We just stepped out on it. And then maybe 8 months later, what happened was we got a call from the paddock owner, and she already loved what we were doing. Obviously had a really good opinion of us, because her GM, her general manager, graduated from here. And that was supposed to be her retirement job, basically. And she was just like, I think I've done everything I want to do with it. I'm kind of at this place where my heart is somewhere else. And so I'd like to know if you want to buy it. And so we were like, whoa, we were not even thinking about that. And it just kind of landed in our lap. But she gave us a deal that we couldn't refuse. We just bought the business. We didn't buy the building. And then we're continually asking ourselves, how can what's happening down there benefit recovery? And so we're just trying to figure out how we can make it more a place that raises awareness about what we're doing. And then, of course, we're trying to bring it up to make it more profitable, so that the money will come back into Awake eventually and pay for recovery. And then, of course, as we've talked about, it's a place for people to get food and hospitality experience while they're in our program.
All good things.
Thanks.
I'm gonna stop this.